I'm going to grab the correct first video. So I've only seen what they showed at the Game Awards on the first trailer for the new Elden Ring stuff. And so I'm kind of going into this blind because it's definitely not this 3-minute trailer that they put, and then the like 16-minute or 10-minute other video. So I'm very excited to witness this. I'm very excited. So yeah. I'm like, I don't even care what kind of game it is. Just let me at it. Let me play whatever it is. You know, let me play. Let me play it. I'm so excited. Oh, I could not believe it. I was laying in bed and I was just watching the Game Awards to just kind of kill time until Mr. Husband came to bed so we could go to sleep. And like, he came and laid down and that started playing and he was like, "All right, time to turn off the phone." And I was like, "Oh, that's a sign of grace." What? And he was like, "What?" And I showed him the phone and we just started watching and we're like, "What the heck?" So, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see information about this. I've heard roguelike survival game and I'm just like, you know, I don't care. I don't care what it is. I'll play it. But let's see. Let's see. This is the 3-minute trailer. More Elden Ring, yes. Give it to me. I was watching Jesse react to the Game Awards. That was who I was watching. So he was the one that pointed out that it's kind of like Fortnite because of the ring enclosing like that with the fire, and I was like, huh.
Seekers of redemption, you were chosen, thrown together by forces beyond our control.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited. See, that looks like America's area. So I'm wondering, is it set after the burning then? Like, is it after the Earth Tree is burned? Oh, what? That's so cool. And so we'll have set classes, is what I was hearing too, which is gonna be
Tragedy
interesting.
must be averted.
I saw somebody else mention that she's the firekeeper from Bloodborne? Bloodborne, maybe? Yeah, more roguelite action game. I mean, I'm down. You know I like the roguelikes, so...
Stand tall.
Parkour!
It's far from over.
Dragon Raider here.
Pillager, bent on stacking the lands of gold. I will swallow
Nom 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 nom.
any and all who dare approach.
New doggy with chain. Sekiro parry. So maybe they're combining a lot of stuff then. Oh, I guess it is after the burning, because that's supposed to be the capital there, isn't it? The big amount of sand and stuff.
Of the Night Lord.
Ah. Nightreign. Oh, it looks so epic. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Alright, and then we got the first look at gameplay. No, ads. Kindly fuck off. Kindly fuck off, I said.
Hey everybody, I'm Wes from PC
There we
Gamer.
go.
I'm a
Hello,
senior
Wes.
editor there, and last week I was one of the first 6 people in the world to fly to From Software's offices in Tokyo to play an early build of Elden Ring Nightreign.
What? You got to actually play it. That's so cool.
I will note that
Okay.
we weren't allowed to do gameplay capture of Nightreign,
Well, yeah.
and I didn't get any B-roll either, so most of the footage that you're going to see here may be just some kind of generic stock footage of
Okay.
Elden Ring itself. Just note that you're not getting an extensive look at Nightreign itself now. That's going to have to wait until later. A 3-player co-op roguelike set in the world of Elden Ring, that is probably not what you expected from Software.
It's perfect.
Who are famous
It's
for their
perfect
high-stakes,
for our game, for our
high-difficulty
co-op
RPGs.
team.
But Elden Ring
Ren Thunder and I,
Nightreign
we
is
can-
a turbo mode
it'd be so
reinterpretation of
good.
combat that From Software has been refining across the last 10 years of games. The new features in this roguelike, teased in a trailer at the 2024 Game Awards, are a bit hard to wrap your head around
Yep.
until you've actually played it. But I have, and I'm here to tell you all about it. It is a 3-player co-op game set in an alternate universe version of Elden Ring's game world. It's hard to
Alternate
get a
universe,
real
okay.
good feel for what you're looking at in that trailer. It probably left you with way more questions than answers. But I got to play the game for a good 6 or 7 hours, so I have still some questions, but a lot more answers.
Fighting with
so I'm going to give you a
friendship.
first look at Nightreign, how it plays, what about it is exciting, and what about it wasn't fully convincing right out of the gate. Let's break down the key details. 1. Elden Ring Nightreign is a 3-player co-op roguelike. In Nightreign, you play as a member of a 3-player co-op team exploring a familiar but different version of Limgrave, Elden Ring's starting zone. The map has a static overall layout, but with sort of like a DJ mix approach to the weapons you find and the enemies you encounter.
Oh, okay,
They're going to be
okay.
random and jumbled up every game. Before
Okay.
each run, you'll choose a final boss to go after, almost like you're picking a creature to hunt in Monster Hunter.
Huh.
But before you fight them, you have to survive 2 days of exploration and combat, with each day ending in a big boss fight of its own. So in the build of the game I played, the first night I would either end up fighting a pair of demi-humans or a big centipede monster, while night 2 was either Margit the Fell Omen, all of you are very familiar with him if you played Elden Ring, or a tree sentinel with a couple of lesser riders, but still very scary knights riding alongside it. So as an Elden Ring, you can be matched with random players for the multiplayer, or you can use a multiplayer password system to party up with your friends. 2.
Excuse me.
Nightreign will be a premium-priced, not free-to-play game. From Software told me they don't consider Nightreign to be live service. They want a full game experience in the box, so to speak.
Okay.
And that means
I mean, that's
updates
reasonable.
after launch are still an open question. Bandai Namco, who is the publisher, did confirm for me that you won't need to own Elden Ring to play it. Nightreign is totally standalone.
That's why at
and
the Game
price
Awards
will
they were
be
like
comparable to
standalone
Shadow
game.
of the Erdtree, this year's expansion, which probably means $40, but
Okay.
that's not confirmed.
That's not
Basically,
bad.
The takeaway is this is not a full $60 or $70 priced game.
That's
3,
good. Yeah.
You'll play as predefined characters. So yeah, there's no character creator in Nightreign. Unlike
I mean,
basically
that's
all of
fine.
From Software's RPGs, Nightreign does not let you create a custom character, though you will unlock alternate skins for the cast of 8 preset characters as you progress
Okay,
through the
see,
game.
that makes
Nightreign is
sense.
going for
So
the
different
hero route
skins,
with
okay.
predefined characters. I get to play with 4 of them, but there will be 8 total in the final game. So in the build that
I'm
I played,
guessing
there was
it's gonna be, like, the
Wilder, who
different
is an
types of
armored knight
classes.
Who resembles kind of like the canonical box art character from a lot of the Souls games. He's got a hefty longsword and a really cool high mobility grappling hook. There's also Duchess, who's a speedy kind of scout-like character in Nier Automata cosplay, equipped with a magic dagger. Duchess dodges with an elegant sidestep rather than the usual roll, and an incredibly powerful ability that lets her re-deal the last few seconds of damage that both you and your allies have done to a nearby enemy all over again. It's really, really effective with team coordination and really satisfying to pull off. There's also Guardian, who's kind of like a Birdman. He was the tankiest of the characters that I played as, whose ultimate ability has him fly up into the air before performing this huge dive bomb attack back to the ground, which deals damage in a wide area and boosts your allies' defense for a little bit. This is a really clutch move. You can use it to both deal damage and revive your allies at the same time. A funny quirk of Nightreign is that you actually revive your allies by attacking them rather than holding like a revive button the way a lot of games do it. And the 4th character that I got to play as was the Recluse, who's a very frail mage, the most complex character of the bunch, who I spent the least amount of time with as a result because I didn't want to constantly be dying while I was playing. But I think doubtless will be very powerful in the hands of skilled players once people have a lot of time to actually tuck in the Nightreign. So
I can't
the
wait.
Recluse has the ability to absorb elements from enemies, which sounds a little confusing, but it's based on kind of the last thing that's hit them, what elemental affinity that attack might have, whether it's bleed, poison, fire, ice, etc. She can basically absorb those essences, and then after absorbing a certain number and storing them up, can unleash them in a special attack that changes based on what you've absorbed. So you can see that's like not going to be the easiest character to just immediately take control of and know what you're doing, but I'm sure the payoff will be there once you do. And there are 4 more characters in addition to those 4, including one who's an archer and one built around parrying combat like Sekiro or the Crystal Hard tier from the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion, but From Software are keeping tight-lipped about those heroes for now, and there are 2 more that we don't know anything about. Number 4, Nightreign is not a battle royale, but yeah, it kind of looks like one. When I first saw this trailer at From Software's offices, I thought,
Jesse,
what the heck is
Jesse
this,
wasn't
a
too
battle
bad
royale? And
about that.
Nightreign is borrowing the popular battle royale mechanic of a danger zone ring shrinking to a focal point on the map as you play. So at
Until
first
the
glance,
final day,
it looks like it's going to be a PvP game. You even drop into the map from the sky on like a spectral raven, so it kind of feels like you're jumping off the Fortnite party bus, or descending onto a map in Apex Legends. The Fortnite vibes are very strong in this game, right? But no, it is not a battle royale game. In fact, it is even less of a PvP game than Elden Ring or Dark Souls. There is no invasion mechanic in Nightreign. You cannot fight against other
Fuck the invasion mechanic.
So the battle royale ring is just there to to limit the amount of time you can spend leveling up by fighting enemies and push you towards boss fight confrontations at the end of each day. So the days will only last about 10 minutes before you have to do a big boss fight, and then assuming you've survived the first day,
maybe they'll do that later.
Closes back in again on you on the second day, and if you survive day 2, then you go on to fight your ultimate hunt target, the final boss for your run. So this is definitely not Elden Ring 2. I'd say it actually has more of the feel of a very, very ambitious mod for Elden Ring than it does a full-on sequel, because it is not an RPG. Number 5, so what does Elden Ring Nightreign actually play like? Well, in many ways, Nightreign plays exactly like Elden Ring. Weapons and basic enemies have the exact movesets they do in the base game. Controls are essentially the same with just a few additions. All of Elden Ring's battle mechanics are there. Backstabs, guard parries, two-handing weapons, etc., etc., etc. If you've played a Souls game, if you played Elden Ring, it's going to feel super familiar immediately. In other ways, Nightreign feels extremely different from Elden Ring. Movement speed and sprinting are greatly sped up. Even without the spectral
I can't wait.
Far more mobile in this game. You can mantle up most
parkour
and vault up ledges. There is no fall damage, like at all. No fall damage.
No fall damage.
Has a fairly strict time limit. You're also encouraged to just play at a breakneck pace, running from place to place to get as much loot as you can.
Wait.
Kill as many enemies as possible,
so much fun.
and level up at sites of grace, which are scattered around the map, so that when you get to a boss fight, which are unsurprisingly big difficulty spikes, you're as strong as you can possibly be. So it feels so different from playing a regular Souls game or even Elden Ring. Enemies quickly become trash mobs, right? So you're just kind of running up to a bunch of enemies and just absolutely tearing through them as you level up.
Breaking them down, just give me those runes.
Feel really different than it does in the Souls games, where every new room you go into for a good chunk of the game is likely to present some new threat that you're not expecting and keep you kind of constantly on your toes. So I really enjoyed Nightreign and also found it a bit awkward to play, because you're definitely losing some of that tension, some of the elegance and like sense of significance from discovery in the original version of Elden Ring and in the Souls games, where you're going on this long RPG journey. And it feels weird to see all of these really familiar pieces just kind of thrown in the sandbox together and like turned into new toys to play with. At the same time, it still plays really well, right? Like those fundamentals of From Software combat that they've been refining across their games, they're still great. And it's hard to argue against how fun it is to just put that whole experience on fast forward and be playing for kind of low stakes compared to a classic From Software game, right? Like, you're not groaning when you die in this game because you've just lost so much progress.
I'll answer that after we finish watching.
So I found myself immediately wanting to jump into another round at pretty much at the end of every single match, just because I was excited to see what kind of stuff was going to happen in the next run and what kind of random drops I was going to get that would define how I built my character. So yeah, let's talk about that randomization. Number 6 is the map randomly generated, and how much does it change? The layout of Nightraign's map is static, kind of. It looks like a jumbled up remix of Limgrave with familiar caves, forts, wizard towers, ruins, jails, all in different places than they were in the original game.
Well,
and
I guess
From
if it's an
Software
alternate
says that
universe.
general topography and the location of structures will stay fixed. Like, the map is the map.
Okay.
But the developer's also being cagey about the extent to which it can change on different runs. So From Software told me that sometimes an environmental modifier will appeal on the map. So this could be like a swamp or a lava spewing volcano. I didn't encounter these kind of big random environmental elements, so I can't say how significant they're going to be for the game as a whole, how much it'll affect the overall layout and feel of the map.
See, I don't know
how
anything
much
about
come to dominate a run,
other
if
stuff
at all,
besides Elden Ring.
or how many like
from
varieties
from
of these surprises
FromSoft,
are
so
going to be in the randomization.
I don't know
for the
those
final game.
characters.
In my interview, From Software also hinted at the fact that the environmental changes like might be tied to the sort of meta stories for the different characters you can play as. So there's a lot we don't know here yet about kind of how all of this stuff is going to play together. The enemies and the bosses you encounter at each place of interest, you know, each fort and so on, will vary by session, which is clearly what From Software is kind of relying on to be the main thing that keeps combat fresh and keeps playing the game multiple times exciting, because they want that to be unpredictable across many runs, even if the overall shape of the map, you know, stays basically the same.
Dude, I can't wait for no fall damage and just being able to like fucking go ham on a map.
I guess like a bit too much of a drag to explore in a PvE game if it remains static. Even if you encounter a different boss at the ruins you run around 30 times before, I don't know that that's going to be as exciting as it is playing a PvP Battle Royale game where, yes, you can get tired of the map, the environment to some extent, but there's just so much more unexpected behavior from other human players. It's so much more dynamic to be in that PvP environment in a place
I think we may get like an update with that, because like we have the Colosseum in Elden Ring even now, so they understand that people want to fight each other
versus, you know, this type of undead, for example. But again, I played one day of an early build of this game, which clearly did not have every, you know, random and procedural element all active at once. So it's really not enough to see how everything's going to fit together.
We don't know 100% yet.
There will definitely be some randomized surprises across the day that I played. Nightreign, for example, Margit, the Fell Omen, was one of the potential Night 2 bosses, but also sometimes invaded our play session unexpectedly in the middle of the day and started just chasing us across the map. Number 7,
that's
the
interesting.
loot system resembles
I like that.
a lot of other action RPGs. If you've played a Souls game, if you played Elden Ring, you know that these games have literally hundreds of weapons in them. And I only ever used a handful of them in a given playthrough, which was kind of a bummer. But the way Nightreign simplifies stats and makes it so that just about every character can use every weapon, so you can assemble a viable build on the fly pretty much every run. And you are not locked into playing in a particular way, even if you choose a character who kind of by default is a bit tankier or a bit faster paced. So regular enemies and bosses around the map will drop randomized loot. As in other action RPGs, that loot can include passive skills like stat buffs, can also include active effects and affinities like poison, bleed, ice, fire attacks, and more. Loot is abundant. There are tons of chests and breakable objects in the environment that house weapons and consumable items like oils to coat your sword for extra damage, daggers that you can throw for range damage, etc. So when you kill a boss, you usually get to choose from 3 loot options, with one of those options being like a kind of a permanent or permanent within the run character option rather than a weapon upgrade. So for example, that could be like a 15% bonus to damage reduction for the rest of the run. Regular drops are shared between players. So you could open a chest and then someone could just run up and grab the items right from under your nose. But the more valuable drops from bosses
don't be a loot goblin in this game.
Loot is tiered with color-coded rarity, so if you play Diablo or like any MMO, you'll basically know the gist there. And Elden Ring's old inventory system is gone. It's much simplified in Nightreign. You can only hold 6 weapons, 3 in your right hand and 3 in your left hand, and the passive skills on weapons that you pick up actually remain active as long as they're in your inventory. So that means Sometimes you could pick up a great sword that you don't want to use because you're doing kind of like a fast-paced dagger build.
Oh, but it
wanna
could give you a
keep it
bonus.
in your inventory anyway because it happens to offer like a nice buff to your poise stat.
Nice.
So
Okay.
you're sort of creating a build just by picking and choosing which weapons and items you pick up as you go. Number 8. There will be meta progression in the form of character stories and permanent loot from each run. In between runs, you're going to return to an
permanent
alternate version
loot.
of Elden Ring's Roundtable Hold, where you can chat with all of the characters except for the one that you're currently embodying, practice using their abilities in a training ground, and make use of some kind of upgrade system that was not accessible in the build that we played. Each character in Nightreign has these relic slots that you can equip random end of run rewards to. So these offer some really substantial benefits to how you're going to improve your characters long term. One relic, for example, gave me +2 vigor, made my healing flasks actually heal my allies in addition to myself. Which was
Oh,
really,
that's
really
nice.
beneficial.
Oh, that's real
another
nice.
marked treasure for me on the map and boosted magic attacks.
Oh, I like the
and
marked
enhanced,
treasure. That would be a
specifically
good relic to
one
have.
of the Duchess's character abilities. So there's going to be a lot of variation between these relics, and it seems like you're probably going to get more relic slots as you play through the game.
Oh, it's not
just based
actually
on
a cat in the
the
background. Oh my
UI.
god, I thought
That's
he had like an
speculation
actual
on my
cat
part,
just sitting on
but,
his shelf.
It kind
But
of
it's
makes
like
sense
a
because From Software
sculpture
told me
or something.
there's going to be some degree of narrative progression for the characters
Underneath his
as well.
TV.
So it sounds like moving through those stories is probably going to give you some sort of progression, not just in how the characters' stories play out, but also in what bosses you can fight or how the map changes. All of this stuff was left pretty unclear. They clearly don't want to kind of spoil everything up front.
Yeah.
But I do get the sense that there's going to be some sort of longer term evolution in the game beyond just having these 3 slots that you can put slightly better items into. Number 9, Nightreign
Makes
really
sense.
isn't an RPG now. Leveling is way simplified. Just like
I mean, that's
the
fine.
combat and the movement now, leveling is really fast in Nightreign. You still level up by killing enemies to accrue runes and then spending those runes at a site of grace, just like in Elden Ring, but you accrue them
that's nice.
very quickly, and instead of leveling up an individual stat, every chunk of runes you spend will grant you 1 level kind of just overall, and that will boost your stats across the board. Stat growth is different for each character. So like the Duchess and the Recluse are always going to have less health than Guardian, for example. If you're downed by an enemy, your teammates will have a short amount of time to revive you before you die. And then if you do bleed out, you'll still respawn nearby, but you'll lose all the runes you were carrying, like in Elden Ring, and you will de-level by 1 level.
Oh, can you
something a
go
little
get
bit
it
different.
though? If
But
it's like
as in
Elden Ring, can we go
you
get our
still
runes?
reclaim your runes by returning to the
yeah,
scene
there we
of
go.
your death. Although an enemy may have picked up your runes and will be holding them hostage until you kill them.
How
Your character
dare
does not
they!
have any kind of meta level. So you're back to level 1 at the start of each run that you go into. But there are some meta progression elements like the ones I alluded to before. Number 10.
Yeah,
All
like the
right, finally,
relics.
when can you play it? So like Elden Ring and most of the Souls games, FromSoft is planning to hold a free online beta test, or network test for players sometime ahead of release. We don't know when, but it's obviously going to be next year sometime.
Okay, I need to
Based
keep an
on
eye
the
out for
past
that.
games, expect the network test to be held between 3 and 6 months before release. Elden Ring was about 10 weeks ahead of release, while Dark Souls 3 was about 5 months ahead. So there's quite a range there. We'll find out more in 2025. So what features are you most excited about? What characters are you going to play as first? Let us know in the comments, and make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date with the latest
Probably the
on
Recluse,
Elden Ring,
though.
Nightreign on
Being
PC.
the magic person, I gotta keep up with the mage build, you know? Ah, I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to play this.